Hello everybody, it's Carter, day 8 of the Casino Source Code event. It is the last day today, and we will be talking about finishing and selling your portfolio, which has been a topic that a lot of people have asked me about, and I think it's something that's very fitting for this week at the end of the week. And I'm also going to talk about a few holiday tips that hopefully will help you guys get fired up and prepared for the upcoming season, which is going to be great. So welcome back, and thanks so much for coming. It's the last day of the source code sales themselves. We've still got a few more goodies coming up, which we'll talk about a little later on, but it's been great. Thanks for coming back on the last day. So first and foremost, big yes to everyone who purchased Blackjack. Super awesome. I'm really excited to see how that goes for you guys. It's been a high requested app for a long time, so I think it's doing really well. It's done really well for us, so I'm very excited about that. And today what we're going to talk about is the final portfolio thoughts, and like how to package this all up and how to bundle everything together, some holiday tips, and then we're going to talk about the actual source code sale. We've got a big discount for you today, which is great. So I'm going to start off, and I want to just talk a quick blast from the past. Okay, so let's rewind back to January 2013, and a lot of you know this. I wrote a blog post about this. I sold 2 of my portfolios for about $200,000. And it was great. It was a really good experience, and I mean, most importantly, above all, I learned a lot about selling companies and how the whole process works. So specifically, how deals are done in the app world and in the digital world, I guess, to a certain extent. And one of the most interesting pieces of the deal was that the buyer was not an app guy, right? Like, this guy didn't know, he'd never built apps himself, and he's a very, very smart guy. He just, he'd never really gotten into the app game the way a lot of us had. What he did know about was, a little bit about marketing. He had some history in marketing. But he was buying my cash flow. I mean, he saw how profitable these apps were, and he said, all right, this is a good business. I like this. But he wasn't buying my portfolio. And I want to explain this because this is really, really important. And what I want to talk about with you guys today real quick is this idea of businesses versus apps. And a lot of you probably know that I talk about business a lot, and that's almost the theme of everything I talk about when I talk about apps is thinking about this like a business and not just about the apps. And I want to talk to you really quickly about what that actually means. Because when you look at a business, right, you think about things such as profits and losses on your company. What's making money and what are you spending money on, or what's losing money for you? Operations, how do things actually work in the company? Who manages what? How does everything happen every day? How do things get done? The third is, teams and people, like who's developing the apps, who's project managing, how's it all happening? The strategy, how are you guys, what's your game plan to get bigger and better? Is it ASO? Is it paid traffic? Is it partnerships? What is it? And then finally, intellectual property, what do you own? What have you developed yourself? What do you hold on to? Now, in the apps themselves, when you think about apps and not just, business in general, apps, when you get down to that level, it's more about, all right, well, what code do you have? What graphics do you have? What modifications have you done? How does it look? Great. How much money is it making? What are you spending money on? What keywords are you using? What data are you getting out of these apps? This is the kind of thing that people in our world tend to look at when they look at value and what is awesome about an app or an app portfolio. These are the things that we would tend to look at because these are specific to the app business. But the thing is, these aren't necessarily about the business side of things. They're more about the app business side of things. So what's the difference between these two, right? Because they're obviously very similar and they're the same worlds, but what's the difference? And the difference is that when you talk about business, these terms are understood by all. Everything we talk about, you could apply that. Profits and losses, operations, people, and the strategy, intellectual property. You can put that on any business. I mean, you can have a laundromat, or you can have a car dealership, you can have an app business. It's all the same. Everyone understands how that all works. That's why you go to business school. But the app things, what's good code? What do graphics? Who cares? Who cares what your keyword strategy is? That's only understood by people who actually understand the app business, and that's a lot. That's a very, very small community of people in the grand scheme of things. When you look at the global view of business, and because of that, what happens when people there's a lot of people that understand these basic business terminologies. There is so much more money there, and they're willing to spend a lot more money because they understand it. It's in terms they can process, and in terms that they can work with. And when you hand them an app business and you give them things like, hey, look, this is Unity code. Look how awesome this is. You can export it cross-platform. A financial guy is going to look at you and say, what are you talking about? And because they don't understand it, they're not going to spend a lot of money on it. So because of that, there's a lot less money for the actual apps themselves. You have to position it like a business and not just like the apps. So why is this important, and why am I telling you this? Because if you ever want to sell your apps or your portfolio down the road, you need to start thinking about this as soon as possible. And a lot of you have, maybe it could be casual, it can be kind of a dream of yours, or some of you are a lot more serious about this. And what I always say is that you really need to start thinking about this as soon as you can. And we're going to talk through this. And the number one way to think about what I'm talking about here is you need to build your app business and your app portfolio like a franchise. And what a franchise is, for anyone who doesn't know, when you go to get a sub at Subway or go to Starbucks, those are franchises of a bigger model. People will go and they will learn how to, start a Starbucks and operate it, and then they do a kickback to the master, Starbucks corporation. And so the reason why franchises work so well is because anyone with a basic training set could walk in, they could read a set of manuals, and they could operate it, right? That's why anyone who gets qualified could walk into a Starbucks and they would be handed an entire training manual. And in 3 months, that business would be up and running just as well as it would be if it was across the country by somebody totally different. That's what makes it such a unique model, is because it's easy to hand over the keys and someone else can run it. Because when you do this and they operate this, the revenue would continue to come in. And what that means in business sense is that your risk is lowered. Because if someone buys your app portfolio and you're saying, hey, look, it's making $10,000 a month, like, look at all these apps I'm doing, here's how I'm doing it. To them, their first question is going to say, how do I guarantee that $10,000 a month is going to continue happening for a very, very long time? Because that's what they want. They want to make their money back. And so the more you can lower their risk by showing them that there's a very, very clear operating way to do this, their risk is lowered, and they're going to be very, very excited about spending money on you because it seems like a better bet. Now, this is also really good just for your own business, just in general. Even if you're not thinking about selling your portfolio or apps anytime soon, this is just really good standard practice to do, because that means you can hire people a lot more easily because roles are clearly defined, and more importantly, it's a lot easier to train them. You can hand them something and say, your job is to publish apps. Here's exactly how we publish apps at Sally's Apps LLC. And you hand them a 15-page document and say, study this and learn this, and these are the steps that you're going to be doing. And then also, so not only does it help with the onboarding, it also helps you remove yourself from the company, which when you're in a scale, which we've talked about, there's some blog posts about that, you can move away from that because it's operating at a much more efficient level. So most importantly, and what I always like to do is give you guys actionable tasks that you can do, because it makes it real, right? It's no longer theoretical when you do that. So how would you do this? And this is from my own experience. This is what I've learned. Some people might do this differently, but this is the best kind of easy step-by-step program that I could give you, especially with a casino portfolio like you guys are building. Number one, you need to be able to show your monthly revenue and costs, okay? And I would definitely recommend hiring an accountant to help you do this, because if let's say you have 4 or 5 app accounts, you're going to need to be able to peel those apart, right? And say, like, okay, this app, company or this app account makes this much money, and this one makes this much money, and here's how much the costs are for this company, here's how much the costs are for this company. Now, the more detail you can get into this, the better, but at the very least, just start top line and say, how much money is this company making every month, and how much are we spending every month? Just being able to do that and have it be on an automated system like QuickBooks is huge. I mean, that's just an awesome first step to take. Now, the second thing you guys can start doing is just start creating operating procedures. And this is a lot easier than you think, and it seems a little daunting when you look at something like this and say, how can I possibly create this? But you'd be shocked at how easy it is to do if you just take it one step at a time. And so the best way I've found to do it is you create PDFs. I tend to really like doing screencasts and walkthroughs, where I just go through what I'm going to do on an ordinary day. So if I'm going to say, all right, here's how we're going to pick keywords, I'll go through and just pick keywords, and then I'll describe everything, every decision I'm making, and then I'll go into detail if I need to. But use this, and you can even make screencasts or walkthroughs and send them to your virtual assistant and say, hey, turn this into a PDF, transcribe this, whatever you want to do. And then take all these and organize them in Google Drive, that's free, or Dropbox. I think Dropbox is free now if you get a low cost. If not, it's very cheap. But have them somewhere in a storage facility that you can always access and put them in folders. And one might be, all right, development folder, ASO folder, publishing folder, monetization folder, whatever it may be. Number 3, build relationships with your team. Okay, and this is really important. And I've talked to a lot of guys who have had this experience where they sell their apps, or they sell a portfolio, but they don't have a team or they don't have anyone with the portfolio. And that dramatically lowers the amount of money that someone's going to spend on it, because finding talent in the app world is very daunting for someone who doesn't understand how to hire a really good developer or designer or project manager or anybody, or even a virtual assistant. And so I'm not saying that you necessarily need to package them up and say, okay, this is part of the deal and I own, these are my employees, because most of us have contractors. But what you can do is you can talk to them and say, hey, look, I'm going to sell this portfolio. Would you be willing to do 3 months of work with him or her? And if you like it, you can stay, but at the very least, you're just going to help them make a transition and help them establish themselves. That's going to be huge. And a lot of time contractors will say, no, I don't want to do that if you don't really have a good relationship. But if you have a great relationship, they'll say, okay, that sounds fine as long as this is going to be a smooth process. And that can really, really help when you're going to move your portfolio. And finally, I think a lot of you probably know that this is big for me. I've talked about this a lot, but you really need to organize your assets. And you really need to organize your data. And if you're not good at this, if you're not an organized person, hire someone who is. Hire them for 2 or 3 hours a week and talk and work with them on developing a system, and then just start dumping everything to them and have them organize it. Because this is really important when you get into the negotiations and the deals, when you're starting to talk about what value and how to create a price on this. For example, some of the questions, and these are one of the questions that was asked to me. It says, hey, all right, you've got, I think I sold 110 apps or something. And they said, well, what are the 5 best? Prove it. Show me. And that simple question, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go back and I got to line all the ads, apps up, and I'm going to show where they are in the ad networks. And it doesn't have to be an exact science, but at least you have to be able to give a ballpark. And the more organized you are, it's just going to be easier for you when you're deciding, hey, what app should I reskin? I'm just going to look and see which apps are doing the best. This is just a best practice to do for business anyway. And one more thing too, right? A lot of times you're going to see people say, hey, I got this app or this portfolio, and I'm just kind of over it. I'm not doing anything on it. And with a little effort and marketing, this portfolio could totally take off. That's why I'm selling it for what I'm selling it for. Don't say that, okay? Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, would you want to hear that? I don't think you would. I think if you have enough money that you're buying companies or you're buying assets, unless you have the mentality of, hey, I'm going to flip something, and even if you are, you don't want to know that you're going to walk into something that's a ton of work unless you're getting an insanely good price on it. And if you are getting a really good price on it, you certainly don't want the seller to know that you're getting a good price on it, because that's going to be part of the deal. So those are the biggest parts of a portfolio. So as you guys are building this, you're taking your casino codes, or if you're doing anything else with your other apps and you're starting to put it all together, follow this strategy, these 4 things, which we'll email this all out tomorrow, which I'll talk about in a second. But realize that there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of value you guys can gain if you really want to package this all up. And it doesn't cost you any money. It just comes down to how you're going to organize this sort of thing. So secondly is the last minute holiday tips, and definitely tune in tomorrow as well, guys. We're going to be talking about this kind of stuff. But I just want to run through a few just to kind of get the ball rolling on that. The first thing, a lot of you who have been around know about the iTunes schedule. If you've never been through a full year cycle, iTunes essentially shuts down during the holidays so that their workers can go enjoy the holidays. And because of that, you can't upload apps, you can't get in there, you can't modify certain things, you can't release apps. And if you don't plan for this and if you don't know it, you can miss out on a lot, because this always happens every year. So put this on your calendar. It changes every year. I'm not sure what the exact dates are this year, but it's typically around the 20th or so. And just make sure that you prepare for that. The second, do promotions, and this is something I've learned from working with bigger games. The guys making, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a day. Some of these big top grossing games, and what these guys do is they really push the promotions. It's just like a big business, like Target or Walmart. They're going to be doing Christmas promotions and sales and things like that. And you can do this kind of stuff too. And even if you don't have very sophisticated technology, the easiest way to do this is just drop the in-app purchase prices in your game, okay? And if you have push notifications, definitely use those. You can always edit the app description, things like that. If you update the app, you can put it in the update text, as a way of communicating with people. But push notifications are typically the best, and just do it in iTunes pricing. You can take this to the next level and use things like Playhaven tools, but this is a very, very powerful tool to start working on. A lot of people don't really think about doing promotions. And so you can use this, especially when you have games like we have in the casino world with lots of different in-app purchases. A promotion might be, for example, hey, we're doing a weekend Christmas sale, and the 20,000 coin bundle is, instead of being $9.99, is actually going to be $3.99 for 48 hours. And you'll sell a bunch of $49 in-app purchases. And then the third one, and I think that this is something that, this is just kind of marketing 101. Think about your average revenue per user more so than your downloads during the holidays, because what's going to happen is you're going to see the increase, and we've all talked about that. There's going to be a big increase in downloads, and what's going to happen is that you're going to want to go chasing after those downloads, and you're going to get obsessed with being like, oh my God, there's all this traffic. Why am I not getting any? Or why am I only getting a 20% increase in my traffic? And you're gonna wake up and it's gonna be December 15th, and you're gonna say, oh my gosh, like what have I been doing? I've just been chasing downloads the whole time, and you can go crazy doing that. And what I would recommend to you as part of your strategy, definitely focus on the downloads you are getting and the people that are coming into your game, and think about how can I get these people to play more and enjoy the game more, and that promotions play into this, right? And just market to the people that you do get, as opposed to going out and trying to get more and more people in the game. And this could come down to, all right, how can I offer better updates during the holidays? How can I give them more free content during the holidays? How can I really cater to the people that want to play my game and just make their holiday season a lot better? And that can come down to ad frequency, being able to show people less ads or more ads or whatever it may be. But really start to think about this as the holidays come up, because the typical idea is, I'm just going to push as much downloads as I possibly can and just run through my ads. And that's definitely, there's a lot of pros and cons to that. But also remember that you have a lot of people already that you're getting downloads from that have money to spend. And it can be a lot more effective to spend your money on that side of the business. And most importantly, guys, have fun. Realize that this is what it's all about. This is the best part of the year. Everyone's having a great time. It's just, it's kind of a free-for-all. It's a great time. And so I definitely want you guys to remember to have fun during the holidays. It's definitely a special moment in the whole App Store. And finally, guys, we got the last code for the week. I'm kind of at the tail end here. I've had a lot of requests for this. And most importantly, it's just a good fit for what we've been doing. And it's a Yahtzy code, right? We call it Yahtzy, Y-A-T-Z-Y. The traditional kind of trademark name is, as you see, Yahtzy, but there's a million different spellings on it, which is actually an interesting piece of it. And Yahtzy, if you've never played, you get 5 dice and you roll it, and the combinations of the dice equate to playing against somebody else, and you get multiple rolls on it. It's actually a really fun game. I grew up playing Yahtzy, and so we obviously do all 3 platforms, like we talked about from the previous videos. You can use ad sets from the other apps, buttons, chips, boards, fonts, everything, to make this a really easy addition way to kind of roll it in. This is actually a really popular game in dice. I mean, when you look at the dice categories, Yahtzy and Farkle are the 2 that are kind of always seem to pop up. And when you search the term in the App Store, there's only between 100 200 results that come up for any spelling. And because of that, a lot of ASO opportunities come up. How you spell Yahtzy, because a lot of people will type in different names of Yahtzy. You can really pick up on a lot of ASO opportunities, which is kind of what the old school, misspellings used to be. I mean, everyone knows the story about what I did with Gangnam Style, but misspellings can be big back in the day. It doesn't really work as much anymore. So we're going to sell this for $2.99 whenever we get this up on the site, a couple months, once you guys have all had a chance to really do this up, and we've never released this anywhere. I mean, this is a big reason why there isn't a whole lot of competition. It's never been released. And guys, because this is the last day, I really want to make this a home run for you. We're going to do 80% off, and this is going to be 59 bucks. Okay, I think that you guys have stuck around this whole week. You've got a lot to work on. The last thing I want to do is pile on more, and so I just want to make this an easy win for you, especially with all the assets you guys have going on with everything else. So all you got to do is click the button right below to purchase. It's been great. I mean, all the metrics are terrific. It's anywhere from 8 to 12, 13% install rates. eCPMs are awesome. This one actually does extremely well on Google Play and Amazon. That's where we've had a really good success, and it gets a lot of downloads on iOS as well. So this one could be a really, really big ROI for you, which is terrific. As always, the 14-day money-back guarantee. That's just, always want to say that just for you guys. And I really want to say, I'm just really fired up for you guys. I think that this is, the holidays are coming. The feedback I've been getting is terrific, and just the overall attitude of people kind of taking this by the horns and saying, all right, this is cool. I want to make something happen. And that's really exciting. That gets me really excited to keep doing these kind of week-long promotions. So I'm really excited, and thank you for coming. Before we leave, guys, remember, come back tomorrow. I really, really want you to come back. I know this is the last code, but I just want to, you should come back, because I've got a ton of free stuff I'm going to give away, basically. Like, I really want to thank you for coming and being a part of all this. So I'm going to give it all away, and there's no catch. It's just, you come, you see what I've got, download it all. It's all yours. Take home, do with it what you want. But I just want you guys to have all that, because I think it's going to help you a lot with everything that you've done. And if you've purchased the code, it can help you with that. And if you haven't, it might be able to help you with your own apps. And then Sunday, we're going to do something else. It's going to be pretty awesome, I think, that you guys are really going to get excited about it. And that's going to be the finale, kind of the final hoorah of all this. And so stick around this weekend. I think it's going to be really, really cool. And in the meantime, guys, pick up this Yahtzy code. It's got 80% off. You just got to click the button below. And then I will see you tomorrow. So take care, guys, and rock and roll.